It wouldn't be complete here today as we celebrate this without hearing from the coaches. And I had the extreme pleasure my first couple of years here broadcasting at the University of Colorado to work with this guy who was back and had an extremely successful head coaching career here. And Mike Bone mentioned that 2001 Big 12 championship. Should have been playing for the national championship back in 01. Nasty votes somewhere else around the country. But let's welcome up Gary Barnett.
I'm glad I don't have to follow Alfred. I feel sorry for Mac. I tell you, I'm just going to introduce him. I don't have anything to say. So, and also I see that there's nothing going to be serious about this weekend from this point on. So, I may have to throw out all my words. I was trying to be serious and reverent and all that, but that's gone out the door now that Alfred's broken the ice. And by the way, I got to tell you the rest of the story that Mark told about being in restaurants in Columbia, Missouri, and standing there and saying, "Oh, you were the fifth down quarterback." Well, everybody'd come over and look at him and they go, "No, couldn't be," and they'd walk off. Hagan used to call him the raisin, and they'd look at that guy sitting in that chair and says, "You can't tell me this raisin beat Missouri." He says, "No way." Well, my opportunity here is to introduce our featured speaker, and a part of my responsibility too is to all the coaches and the wives that are part of this 1990 family that was created, this family of coaches and players and support staff. We have 4 guys with us today that were part of that coaching staff. Mike Berry, if you'd stand, Mike Berry, line coach. Bob Simmons, coached Alfred and Canavis. Bob's only 28. He just looks 60 because he had to coach Alfred and Canavis. Rick George, our recruiting coordinator. And Bill Marone, our athletic director, are with us. And I got to tell you, Mike Hankowitz and Ron Vanderlinden and Jerry DiNardo and Don Freeze and Oliver Lucas and our graduate assistants of John Riston, Chris Symington, Greg Shamel, Steve Trimble, and Dave Sidwell all wanted to be here, every one of them, because you're a big part of their lives. And they were part of our family and part of this family, and they all wanted to be here, but they couldn't because they're all coaching somewhere. You know, there's almost a decade of Colorado football players in this room. Some of you started your careers in 1986. Some of you finished your careers in 1994. And as much as I can remember, I don't think any of you ever had to wear blue uniforms. Am I right? Anybody have to wear a blue uniform? Nobody had to wear any of those damn blue uniforms. But you're all brought here by one guy and the leadership of this guy. It wasn't O.C. Oliver. He brought a few. But this guy was in charge of even hooking up O.C. Oliver and our boy there. You know, last night, I asked Mary, I said, "Hey, Mary, what word would you use to describe Mac?" And she says, "Well, you know, he sparkles, and he just loves fun." I said, "Coach Mac?" She goes, "Oh, no. We have a grandson, by the way, whose name is Mac." And she was referring to him. She says, "No, Coach Mac he's intense, and he's compassionate, and he's purposeful." Everybody in this room right now that knows Bill McCartney, you just take a second and run that one word by your mind that would describe Mac. Okay? We've all got one. Everybody that knows him has got one. You know, and it might be inspirational. It may be driven. I would add the word wise in there. Because as I finished a press conference, or I wasn't quite done with a press conference, after our 2001 team beat Nebraska 62-36. I'm standing there, and Mac walks into the press conference. And he goes, "You know how you do. You know, he gives you one of these." So I left the microphone, I walked over and says, "Barney," says, "doesn't get any better than this. Retire now." And you know, that's a pretty wise guy, I'd say. This man had a way of getting everything out of everyone. And maybe the way I should say this is he had a way of getting everything out of every guy. Because if you've heard every guy once, you've heard it 1,000 times if you've been around Coach McCartney or been coached by him. Two words that you wouldn't use to describe Bill McCartney would be timid and weak. Or weak. Mac and Bill Morrell crafted a schedule in 1990 that today would be called totally absurd. Now, I got to tell you, as coaches behind closed doors, we called it a lot worse than that. But can you imagine any team in this country, any program in this country, going out and playing Tennessee, Stanford, Illinois, Texas, and Washington before they ever lined up and played their conference opponent? Nobody would do that. There isn't anybody that would test the waters like that. But this program was blooded with that kind of a theory and that kind of a mentality under Bill McCartney, and that's how we played. Every guy played like that. I just saw Roger Yago by the other day. He still hurts when you hit him, Alfred, but he's selling golf equipment. I see. All he could talk about was the 1990 National Championship team. But you know what? Mac got everything out of every guy. And that's why we're here today, and that's why we're going to celebrate this entire weekend the way it's supposed to be celebrated. And speaking of everything out of everybody, I got to tell you, I've waited since 1994 to say this to Mac. And he called me. I was down at Fort Lewis College, hammering away. And he says, all right, he says, I've decided I want to hire you. And I said, oh, great, Coach, I'm ready to go. He says, how much you making there? And I said, $27,000. He says, I'll give you 28. So I said, okay, I'll take it. Well, I got to tell you, Mac, I was only making 25. I owe you $2,000. Before he comes up, Mac's received a lot of awards around the country. Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year, awards from everybody. But today he's going to receive another award, and I'm going to give it to him. And he spent a lot of time in these halls and in this room talking to maybe our favorite support group, the Buff Bells. Today, Coach McCartney becomes an official honorary member of Buffalo Bells.